Illini basketball has now lost 3 of their last 4 games. Is it time to start panicking?
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Locked On Illini. Just about 20 hours after that debacle of a game that we call Illinois versus Maryland. 21-point loss to the Terrapins. The derby session is over. I did end up briefing over the game one more time, so I wanted to come on here and talk about it a little bit more. But first, my name is Sunny Verma. Of course, if you'd like to support this program, just please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'd absolutely appreciate it. You can count on Locked On Illini for content each and every day, anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes of content. I do it because of the awesome support that you guys show. We might hit 2,000 subs this weekend. If we can somehow make it during this live stream, it would be amazing. So if you're watching this and you want to support more Illini content, please hit that like button. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, so where do we start? Illinois, 21-point loss to Maryland on Thursday night. It's a game that we all wish we can forget. And it's a game where a lot of people are venting their frustrations. And they're sending me DMs on Instagram. You guys are commenting on the post-game video, and I appreciate all that. That's kind of why this channel is here. A lot are asking, is it time to panic? Illinois is now 13-6, 5-4 in the Big Ten Conference. And now that I've had a good night's sleep to think things over, I'll be honest, I was just as heated as a lot of other people were on that post-game show after the game. And I've kind of thought out many different routes for Illinois basketball. And I've come to terms with it's not time to panic yet. It sincerely is not. I think it's one of those where if we lose to Northwestern on Sunday, maybe I'm going to be getting closer to pushing that panic button. But when we sit back and just kind of take a step back at this season so far, the season's had the highest of highs, and it's had the lowest of lows. And that's what I said this team would have, with it being so young, with having such a high roster turnover. Sometimes this is just, it comes with the territory of, Brad wanting a younger, more athletic team. Well, when you replace 10 guys, you don't have that veteran leadership where I think the floor is a little bit higher. Illini fans, you might get tired of hearing this. I know opposing fan bases are, but if we're being honest with each other, Illinois still has the highest ceiling in the Big Ten Conference. What's that worth at this point? I don't know. I talked about this before. Eventually, once you get through enough games, you are what your record is. And right now, Illinois is 5-4, and they're leaving some hope for improvement the rest of the season. What happened? I don't know. But I do know that I liked what I saw from Tomislav Vivicic at the end of that Michigan State game. When Kasparis obviously was out, didn't play because of foul trouble, Tomislav did a fantastic job with the playmaking. At the top of the key, he kept making the right passes and made the right plays. When you compare our roster to every other roster in the Big Ten Conference, whether it is Purdue, whether it's Michigan State, whether it's Michigan, I still think top to bottom that Illinois has the best players. Are they going to win the Big Ten Conference this year? No. I've essentially at this point shut the door on that. But I think even that can be taken as a positive. Now this, I'm obviously spinning, okay? But I truly also believe this. Illinois is not winning the Big Ten Conference this year, and so I feel like that's just one extra pressure off the basketball team. I've said this on this show a couple weeks ago. My everydayers are going to hear this again. I don't know how much Brad Underwood is focusing on the winning the Big Ten Conference as opposed to big picture, and that's the NCAA tournament in March. Right now, obviously, the team is flawed. This team is built on rebounding and getting to the free throw line and shooting 3-pointers. Well, last game against Maryland, they didn't rebound. The last month or so, they have not been shooting. I just saw a stat from Derek Piper who mentioned that Illinois, since Big Ten season started, is second to last in the entire conference, only to Washington when it comes to 3-point shooting. If the 3-point shooting isn't falling, this team is just not going to win. I think they're a better shooting team than what they've shown. I think they're an average shooting team. So this is not one of those where I think in a game or two they're going to all of a sudden turn into the Golden State Warriors or anything like that. That's clearly not what I'm saying. But at the same time, I do feel like the shooting is going to improve a little bit just to come back to average. In a game like that game against Maryland, where we were getting dominated down low. Now, Illinois doesn't mind the way the defense is set up. They don't mind if the opposing team makes hard-fought baskets, 2-pointers near the rim. What they try to do is not let you shoot 3-pointers, right? They're playing the analytics game. They're playing the numbers game. Maryland, in particular, without your best big, Tomislav Ivicic, by far your best starting big, is just an awful matchup for Illinois last night, Thursday. And this is not an excuse. If you think I'm making excuses at this point, you didn't watch the postgame show after Maryland. It was a very despicable display by the Fighting Illini in that game. And I wasn't very happy myself, and I try to keep myself somewhat pretty positive when it comes to this show, just because I know you guys tend to be a little bit more fanatical, which I love, by the way. I absolutely love. But I was upset on Thursday night. But now that I'm no longer thinking of the Big Ten Conference, and I can just kind of sit back and really just think about what this team is, right? With a healthy Kasparis, with a healthy Tomislav, and, of course, we're going to need a healthy Tomislav against Northwestern, because I feel like Ivicic is the one big edge that we have over the Wildcats that they really can't match up very well with. But Brad, in his post-game press conference after Maryland, said he has no idea when Ivicic is going to come back, which obviously is not great to hear. But, he was sitting at the end of the bench. Brad said that this was the first time he had seen him all week. So hopefully the antibiotics are starting to kick in a little bit. Obviously they are, because he's sitting at the end of the bench. But is he going to be ready to play for Sunday? I don't know. But being swept by Northwestern this year is going to, I think, really start getting the fan base to start panicking a little bit. But back to my original point. I'm not at the panic stage yet, because the talent level on this team, we've seen that even on average days, they can beat most teams in this country. Kylan Boswell, bad game yesterday. Kasparis Jakushonis, bad game yesterday. I truly feel like if this game had happened in a vacuum, in a bubble, and not immediately after that Michigan State game, where, let's be honest, right? Illinois was the dominant talk in all of college basketball about the officiating. Now, Illinois fans and national media all saw one thing, because it was the correct thing, with the refereeing around Kasparis being absolutely ridiculous. But Michigan State fans kind of ran with it and, started creating the narrative about Illinois fans just constantly making excuses. And so then Thursday night happens. We find out about an hour and a half before the game that Tomislav is out. We knew he was sick, because apparently he was sick against Michigan State too. But we didn't know he was going to be out this game. Of course, we got no hints, because why would Brad Underwood give us any hints? But on top of that, you had Trey White questionable. Will Riley, questionable. Trey played okay Thursday night. Will Riley looked awful. How many times did he get the ball just ripped from his arms in the first half on Thursday? He looked like he didn't have a lot of strength. And those are the only two that was mentioned. As Philip mentions here, Boswell looked sick last night as well. He did. Every time he panned into his face, it looked like a guy who just wasn't 100%, fully healthy. Now, what does this all sound like? It sounds like excuses, right? And it's hard for Illinois fans now to come up with excuses because the story is that's all that they did against Michigan State. And I'm going to accept that. But that's why I'm not going to panic just yet. I do think context matters. And if you take a look at the next 5 games, and I'll try to pull it up very shortly, they're all relatively winnable. We have Northwestern, obviously, the next game. And then we have, Ohio State immediately after that. Then Rutgers, Nebraska, and Minnesota. The records for these teams are 3-5, 3-5, 3-5, 2-6, and 2-6. Illinois has the ability to make up some ground now. And you know what? It might not be the worst thing that with 4 losses now, the spotlight is off the Illini for a little while. Illinois is not going to have to worry about being the talk of, John Rothstein saying, hey, this team is in tier 2, or John Fanta saying, this team can make a Final Four run. Maybe this team just needs to focus within on itself for a little bit and not with the national focus that, quite honestly, the Illinois brand is starting to become. I still think that when Kasper Shakishonis and Tomislav Vesic are on the floor together, more often than not, Illinois is going to have 2 of the better players on that basketball court. And Tomislav is getting better each and every game. Sure, he's not the physical specimen, the way he plays, but he's still 7'1", 260 pounds. We absolutely could have used him against Maryland yesterday. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen. Maryland was just a bad matchup. And, if the same thing happens on Sunday, if this team comes out lifeless against Northwestern, well, then we've got some talking to do because we're running out of excuses. We're running out of time. This team, let's be honest, it's not going to miss the tournament. Okay, I've seen some ridiculous mentions of that. This team's not missing the tournament right now with the way they've been playing. But are you ready to settle for a 7 seed and an 8 seed? If you're ready to settle for a 7 or 8 seed, then really you're making your journey to make it to the Sweet 16 or beyond that much tougher. And I don't know if Illinois wants to settle for that. Illinois still has the capabilities right now. Okay, if you disregard the Big Ten Conference and you just think about playing for March, you can still get a 3 seed. Especially, Illinois only fell 1 spot in that. I believe we're number 9 right now. We're still very high in Ken Pom and Torvik. And the committee looks at all that. It's not time to panic yet if you're an Illinois fan, but it's certainly getting close. I want to know in the comments. Again, this show's being done live, so I'll get to your comments in the 3rd segment. If you have any, let me know. Are you ready to panic? Or are you with me in the sense where, hey, are we going to win the conference this year? No, but I still think, I don't know if my opinion on the ceiling of this team has changed. 13-6 right now. If you told me this team was 13-6 with wins against really good teams and losses against bad teams, if you told me that in the preseason, I would have been like, yeah, that sounds about right. So as I sit here, I don't think I would have predicted 13-6, but 14-5, right along those lines, sure. Maybe that's about what, if I had to do a game-by-game prediction, where I'd come out to. Does Illinois need to fix itself? Absolutely. Are they running out of time? Absolutely. Have they run out of time? Not yet. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time's Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Illinois football is coming off of a 10-3 season, and right now you're kind of seeing what the potential ramifications of having such a successful season could bring. For the first time in a very long time, Illinois is involved with the type of prospects that they haven't been involved with in a very, very long time, and in a very serious matter. I'm talking about J.C. Anderson, and in particular, who I'm going to talk about here is Nasir Rankin from Morgan Park. He's the number one player in the state, the 77th best player nationally, 6'1", 177 pounds. He's the type of guy who, when you think about him, it's the barometer of has Illinois arrived yet or not. And right now, I can say, because I've gotten updates this morning, if you're an Illini football fan, I know there's less Illini football fans than there are basketball. That's why I always lead with the basketball side. All I've heard is very good news. Nasir has been an aggressive target for Brett since the recruitment started. And Nasir, as of late, his popularity is just going up and up and up. A lot of the blue bloods, including Michigan, USC, Oregon, and I know firsthand even FSU is starting to sniff around. All the big names are coming after Nasir. But I also wanted to mention that I've gotten word that Illinois itself has noticed the attention that Nasir is getting. And while in the past, Illinois tended to have to fold and realize that, hey, we're not going to get this kid. He's going to want too much money. We can't offer the kid what he wants. The good news I have for all of you today is that's not happening this time around. Illinois, if nothing else, is stepping up in not just the recruitment of Nasir, but the overall everything that comes with recruitment. They're not stepping aside for a USC to come in and swipe him away like they have in the past. Not anymore. Illinois football, things are changing. Josh Whitman recognizes this. Brett Bielema recognizes this. And sure, the revenue sharing, that has some impact on all this, but the staff obviously knows now, Josh Whitman knows now that with the change of the rules and where Illinois is at currently, with the potential, again, coming off of a 10 victory season, it's time to strike the iron while it's hot now. One of my biggest pet peeves from last year's team, and I said this plenty of times, is it's so clear how much the talent has been raised here in Champaign now, at the floor. We're no longer battling for prospects with other MAC teams and then considering them victories when they commit to us. No, Illinois now is beating out other legitimate P4 teams. Nasir Rankin would be the highest ranking player I believe we've had since at least 15 years, if I'm trying to do the math quickly in my head. And he's a kid that we're, again, legit battling against some of the blue bloods in the sport. We're not going to let other matters outside football affect our recruitment of certain players now. It's something where we always had to concede in the past. But to continue my last thought, sorry. The game breakers is what Illinois' team, to me, didn't quite have. I felt like we had raised the floor considerably, but we weren't really bringing in those game breakers, the playmakers as much as I would have liked. Nasir Rankin is one of those playmakers. Grant Bierman, who we just got, a linebacker who flipped from Purdue, is one of those game breakers. JC is one of those game breakers. And we've either gotten the commitment in Grant's case, or we're very heavily involved in Nasir and JC's place where we haven't been involved before. And speaking as an Illinois football fan, someone who's been following this team for 30 plus years, I'm telling you, we've never been in this position. We've never been in the position where we're aggressively going out and we're just not going to back down when that bigger football team comes, because we're just going to concede that we can't offer what they're offering. We can offer what they're offering. And now we are offering what they're offering. Whether that means that, a kid like Rankin ultimately commits to the Illini, I don't know. I can't say that for certain. But it's just nice to know that it's not just the future where we talk about that's bright. It's the current status of this football team. We're going after big-time players now. We're acting like a big-time football team. That's what Brett wanted when he got here, and that's what Brett has achieved since he got here. All right, I'm going to keep it short today, a Friday episode. Thank you all for coming. I'll just go quickly through your comments. Almighty Finn says, Brad, using the regular season to get ready for Big Ten and the NCAA tournaments. Sure, this is still a team that could catch fire and win the Big Ten tournament. Now, are they going to be able to finish in the top 4? Is it top 6, so that we don't have to play an extra game? I think that would be key, and maybe that's the goal moving forward. But this is absolutely a team that can just get hot over a weekend and win. Check It Out says, hey, Sunny, at this point, just hoping that Brad starts winning some games and gets our team as prepared as he can for March. This team isn't as deep as we thought it was at full strength. At full strength, this team is pretty good and can make some noise in March. We aren't as deep as we thought we were. You're exactly right. Check It Out. I mean, it's clearly obvious that we misfired on Kerry Booth, right? If Kerry Booth was the big that we thought he was, then that game against Maryland wouldn't necessarily have happened. But unfortunately, Kerry, nice kid. I'm sure he's a nice kid, but we had to put Jake Davis against Derek Queen. And I can't, you can read it on my face how bad of a matchup that is. Ben Hummerkaus could not stay in front of Julian Reese. Julian Reese had 27 points and 17 rebounds. Okay, there was just no answer for him. Morez Johnson, the only potential answer, got into foul trouble, as he tends to almost every game. But, you're right. The team is not as deep as we once thought. It's clearly, an 8-man rotation, and DGL's not getting the minutes that I necessarily want him to get. But maybe that changes in the future, regardless. But on Saturday, I will have a Northwestern Keys to Victory episode for you. Of course I will, because that's a new day and new piece of content. Again, if you don't mind, on your way out, if you can hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed, I'd sincerely appreciate it. Until next time, I love you guys.